So hi all, welcome back to Watch Jelly. So today we're doing a podcast, and I've got a very special guest. I hope everyone is well beforehand. So thank you all for listening in. Okay, very cool podcast for you guys today. So today I managed to invite, and thank you for agreeing to come on, a very
Yeah,
special
no,
guest.
absolutely.
So he is at Lord Nantucket on Instagram. So we sort of got to know each other. Thank you for joining, bro. We've got to know each other because somehow we found each other on Instagram. He is a very avid watch collector as well. So and somehow I browsed his Instagram page, and it seems that damn, he's got a really nice collection. Something to be really envious about. Even I'm super envious of his collection. No joke. And I think a lot of the times, even browsing through some of the pieces that he has, and his photography skills are awesome. So my girlfriend who's into photography as well. She dabbles every now and again. I am a complete amateur, so I can't take a picture to save my life. And she always tells me, "Oh, this Lord Nantucket profile. His photography is amazing. You should totally learn a trick or two from him on how to get a proper shot. Because I've been taking BS, amateuristic shots, and it's been killing me. So I guess part of this is also, I guess, the not only enjoying collecting watches, but also trying to take a good wrist shot from time to time, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
A lot of Aaron, you really take great shots, and I encourage everyone, I implore everyone to go at lordnantucket.com. I will tag him in this podcast. So everyone, please go on his page, follow him, and like all his photos. Really, these are some of the watches that he has are amazing. So
You're too kind.
no,
Thank
no,
you.
no. This is not. This is by no means an exaggeration. Really fantastic stuff. Amazing. So so thank you for coming on. So I mean and this is going to be a sort of a collector to collector sort of conversation, and it's going to sound a bit nerdy and geeky at times, but everyone bear with us. This is just two guys loving collecting watches, so we'll do our
There we go. Yeah,
yeah, here we
exactly.
go. We'll jump to the episode. So Aaron, I can call you Aaron.
Yeah,
Aaron, tell us about yourself. So where are you based and where are you from? So not really in Asia, but tell us where you're from. Yeah.
yeah. So first of all, Alvin, thank you for having me on the podcast. Right, the honor is mine to be invited to chat with you. Yeah, so I'm Aaron. Some of you may know me as Lord Nantucket on Instagram. I am based in Vancouver. And yeah, really, for me, it's all about having fun with watches. Um, Seeing the good quality, the beauty, if you will, in most pieces, and just having fun with it, right? Not taking it too seriously. I've been doing this for a little while now, so I've been very fortunate to meet a lot of like-minded individuals and made some great friends. And I've had a few pieces, pass through my hands and collection as well. So yeah, I'm excited to be here. Yeah, thanks for having me.
No, thank you so much, Aaron. So maybe before we start, let's do the YouTube thing that watches people do, wristwatch check. So what do you have on right now?
Sure.
Uh,
So I have a 116520
Lovely.
stainless steel Daytona. Yeah, on today.
Yeah. So I think that there's this very special story that comes with that piece. So we'll explore that in a bit.
Yeah,
So
absolutely.
everyone, I'm just wearing my Mad Editions.
Oh, nice.
Mad Editions. Hold on, sorry. This watch is not coming to me. So the Mad Editions is an amazing watch. I love it. I got this in Hong Kong from a very willing seller. So yeah, here
Oh,
we go.
wow, nice.
Very willing
Yeah,
seller,
those are.
and just love. Yeah, I just couldn't stop thinking about this one when I in the 6 months leading up to getting this, just couldn't get my mind off of it. So paid a astronomical price. Still not regretting it so far, and I hope to keep it that way. Yeah, and yeah.
Nice.
So Aaron, cool. So you're based in Vancouver. So weather's
Yes.
cold. Um, at least most of the year compared to where I'm typically based. Singapore, warm all year round, and Hong Kong, I guess 8 months, 9 months of the year is pretty warm as well. So would you say has the cold weather sort of I guess uh, helped you collect different types of watches compared to, let's say, someone from myself? Because maybe just to give you some context, in Asia it's so warm, it's so and it's humid, it's sweaty a lot of the time. So wearing leather bands sometimes are horrible for me. It just gets sweaty. It smells sometimes. So I'm sure that's helpful for you to some degree in collecting some of your watches.
Yes, absolutely. And you're spot on. It is colder here, right? We have a lot of rain. It's really only hot for a couple months of the year. And so as a result, me personally, I do lean towards, watches with straps on them, right? So I've been fortunate enough to have fun, experiment with different pieces. And yeah, so usually with strap watches, or with leather straps, that would mean perhaps dressier pieces or smaller pieces, less sport oriented, and that is what I tend to lean towards.
Yeah, and some of the pieces that I see on your Instagram page, the Cartier American, the Breguet Tradition, I hope I'm not pronouncing this wrong. The Kurono, the very, I guess they release very limited edition watches each time. Similar, and also
Yes.
the Ming, the 1709, the Burgundy dial. And then also you spot a few Grand Seiko. So it seems to me that indeed the weather and the climate and I guess you're white collar professional as well. You wear proper shirts, jackets. So these are nice dress pieces that go along. Would you say that that's accurate or?
Yeah, I would say I tend to gravitate towards simpler styles, three-handers, I guess you could say. I actually have a few here I can show you. So this is
Nice.
the Ming.
Damn.
Let's see how this.
Yeah. Fantastic.
But yeah, I do tend to gravitate towards the simpler style. I think, with the three-handers, right, it kind of forces brands to really focus on what they want to convey. And when it's done well, I think it really creates a compelling product. And, me, I'm a relatively simple guy, right? So I do like the understated aesthetic usually. Yeah.
Yeah, I think one of my sort of co-conspirators in Watch Jelly, I think he helps out from time to time. He also is, as much as he loves the Daytonas of the world, the vintage subs of the world, he does also lean towards the vintage Seamasters, and also some of the watches that, as you said, simple design three-handers, time only, sometimes time and date only watches, and yeah, I think this is something that over time I have come to understand and appreciate more as well. I mean, the bad weather, the humid weather notwithstanding, and so yeah, absolutely. So I think the Ming, in terms of, since we're talking about the Ming, I also hopefully Ming delivers on time. So I'm expecting the GMT Kyoto. I can't remember.
Nice.
Yeah, I can't remember the number. I think it's 2709, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, their numbering sequences is
Yeah,
still a little confusing to me. Yeah,
yeah. So
but
so
I know which one you're talking about. Yeah,
yeah.
that's an awesome.
So hopefully
Awesome name.
I'll be getting that in March, by March or April. Hopefully, pray to the watch gods. Yeah,
Nice. Yeah.
yeah, and I'm really looking forward to that one. So I think again, one of the few the pretty the similarities that we have in terms of collecting watches. Again, that one is pretty cool. I think I hope the GMT function works well. And
Yes, that's
again,
the issue
yeah.
with this one. Yeah, so I
Okay,
got delayed for a while.
right. Okay. You got delayed for a while. Yeah. And
Yeah.
would you and tell me this? So, um, I looked at your page, and it seems that you have Ming, Baltic, following your account. How did that go? How did that go? How did that happen? Or do you happen to know these guys personally, or okay, well maybe without revealing too much. I suppose you're one of the
Yeah.
early supporters of the brand.
I mean, I don't know them personally. I
Right,
have talked with them through DMs.
right,
But otherwise, yeah, I mean, I think it was something as simple as they had released certain products. I just reached out and said, hey, this is something pretty cool, right? I
right.
think you're doing a great job. And then yeah, we just got to chatting and talking, and that was that. Yeah.
Wow.
You know, I think they're putting out some really interesting pieces. Yeah.
So that's a sign of a true collector. And I think for myself as well. Yeah, I got a Leventure previously. Had a chat to them, and also I think the Furlan Mari. These guys are pretty fun guys as well. So I think yeah,
Yes,
yeah.
yeah, they're great.
Yeah, the micro brands, the independent brands, I think because of their, if they've not been around for super long, and they're just starting out, I think these guys are really friendly, oftentimes, and it's great to connect, right? Yeah,
Yeah, I think they're doing a lot of interesting things, right? A lot of the larger players, they're kind of rehashing
yeah,
old designs or mixing up the colors. So it is refreshing to see newer players introducing new aesthetics, new concepts, right?
right,
Applying their
right.
their own ethos, if you will. Yeah.
Yeah, if you were if someone listening on the pod, listening to the pod, and they're gonna and they're considering getting into their first independent brand, if you will. So let's say they've got a couple of Rolexes, couple of Seamasters, Speedmasters, and they say, okay, I'm looking to buy something a bit more unique, and maybe not quite mass produced. Would you do you have a brand that you would personally advocate for a bit more than the others? Not to say that one's better than the other, but how would you? What would be the thinking of your recommendation be as well on a particular brand if you could suggest one?
Yeah, I would say kind of playing in the space that we just discussed. I would probably lean towards Ming.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, even this 1709, it's actually one of my favorite pieces. I think what they're doing is quite unique, right? They're quite forward looking, right? Right now, or in years past, it was kind of trendy to, cue vintage designs, right? Modify vintage tropes. I think with Ming, they do have a unique aesthetic, right, to say the least. And further to that, I think they put a lot of emphasis on wearability and proportion. Those are two things that are very important to me. And they do it well, right? It sits comfortably on the wrist. And they, how should I say it? I suppose you could say their approach is that of an enthusiast making a watch versus, say, making a watch for to
Try to make a buck. Yeah.
try. Yeah. I didn't want to
Yeah.
be so frank.
Yeah.
So yeah, they pay attention to things like the lug to lug width, right? It's quite compact, so it fits on a variety of wrists. The quality is good. There's enough water resistance where you can wear it in humid conditions,
Right.
right? You could possibly swim if you wanted and not worry too much about it. So Ming, I would say, has a soft spot in my heart. Yeah.
I think you're onto something with that. So it seems that the previous releases to the Ming that I ordered, I think they had a different way of releasing those pieces because these are very limited pieces, 500 pieces sometimes, 1,000 pieces sometimes even less. And I think they modified the way in which they took the online orders when it was first when the one that I ordered was first released. So that's how I could get my hands on those. I think previous to that, there were a couple of designs that I really liked. I can't remember the design the number reference again,
Right.
but yeah, I think last 2 to 3 years, Ming has really gotten a good, shall we say, good amount of awareness. Even among
Yes.
people who are interested in watches, they have a very simple collection, and they often go for the safe choices. But Ming has crept into their minds a bit more, And I think I've got a friend. I think me being from Singapore and Ming being from Malaysia, it's a Malaysian
Hmm.
brand, and I think they do spend time in Singapore as well. I think.
Yes. Yeah.
So it makes sense to get one. And my Malaysian friend who shuttles between Singapore and Malaysia, he's also got one the same piece that I got. I think, but the different a different the
The
different
different
color.
configuration.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's steadily becoming more and more, shall we say, thrusted into the mainstream is probably not the right word, but into the general
Yeah.
awareness of the brand. Yeah.
Yeah, you bring up a good point. The first Ming I purchased was the 1706, the copper dial.
Okay.
And then I remembered when they first released, I was actually able to wait a few days and think about it before I purchased, and
Right.
then it came later. And then with this one, I was waking up at 5 a.m.,
Right.
fighting with everyone, trying to
Right.
get that credit card info as fast as I could. So yeah, it's great to see that others are appreciating their pieces and that they're growing.
Yeah, maybe not. This is not so much of a praise, but Kevin O'Leary has a Ming which he talks about from time to time on his YouTube channel as
Yes,
well.
yeah, I saw that
So
one. Yeah,
that's probably why it's gotten more awareness
it
recently.
could be that as
Yeah.
well.
So tell me about moving a bit more towards the I guess something a bit more mainstream. There's something that most people know more about. So something that's I guess it's one of the pinned posts, featured posts on your Instagram page. Do you want to tell me a bit about your Daytona, your 116520? Because I've owned that watch for a short period of time before. I suppose at the time I had to be really selective with my watches, and I think something else just caught my eye, so I had to part with the piece. So I wore it for a good 9 months, 10 months before I parted with it. But I guess yours is not so. It's not about just the watch itself. I think there's a good sentimental value behind it. So maybe you want to tell us a bit more about that.
Yeah, sure. I guess first, those who follow me on Instagram know that I always like to poke fun at Rolex, particularly stainless steel sports watches. All these crazy resale values, and the hype around the brand, right? That being said, right, it's just in jest. I have a lot of love for the brand, right? I've actually owned several, back when they weren't so sought after.
So hyped
it's
up,
much
yeah.
easier. Yeah, it's much easier to move in and out of them, 10, 12 years ago, right? Yeah, but it was a brand I paid attention to, but would dabble, and then I moved on to other things. Now, this Daytona, it belonged to my father, right? He himself, he appreciates watches, but I wouldn't go so far as to say that he is a collector like us, right? The bug hasn't been him that hard.
That's
yeah.
right.
But nevertheless, right, he does have a few pieces, and it really is just for his own enjoyment, right? He doesn't always, wear them outside the house. But the Daytona was one that he had sought after. He had wanted one for a while, and then when the circumstances were right, he acquired one. And this was his daily knock around watch, right? He would wear it to work, in and out of the airport meetings, play golf with it, right? Do whatever, and it's got the marks to show it.
Yep.
And this was the piece that I came to associate, my father with, just because he was always wearing it. So, fast forward to this year. Well, actually, I should say last year, the summer of 2022. Because of the pandemic, I hadn't seen him for a number of years. And finally, after about 3 years or so, he was able to visit us in Vancouver here. And, how it is with fathers, right? They like to lecture. They like to tell you what you're doing wrong.
Absolutely.
So yeah, that was routine. That's been routine for me for a few decades now. And yeah, so it just so happened he was here, and then one evening we were talking, and he's a bit older now, so he's entering the twilight years of his career,
Yeah.
as we like to say, and I had recently started a new opportunity, a new venture, and so he kind of gifted me his watch, hoping that it would serve as kind of a good luck charm for me, as it had been for him over
The many years.
the last decade plus that he's worn this watch. Yeah, so in a way, it's funny that as much as I used to tease my friends and other collectors about
Rolex.
lusting after these stainless steel Rolexes, kind of comes full circle, and now this is one of my favorite watches for obvious reasons.
I think that's something we have in common. So I think around the same time, probably around the same time that this model in particular was still in production. So my dad also in the early to mid 2000s, he bought a Rolex GMT Master 2, the all black bezel one. With I think back then it was still the aluminum bezel. And when I started working, I think 1 or 2 years into my job, I think my dad also had actually handed that one to me. After I think he wore it for a good 6 to 8 years, since 2003 or four. And he acquired it because Rolex. I think Asian parents. I don't know. It's a brand name. It's a safe choice and all that.
Yeah,
And-
exactly.
And I think in 2015 or 16, he actually after 10 years of wearing, he passed it to me. I wore it for a few years, and I could always I don't know, wearing it actually gave me, because early in your career, especially in a white collar role, you're supposed to hustle your behind off, and somehow
Yes.
I think it's sort of putting it on for a good 2 to 3 years, looking at it every day. I think also sort of gave me a bit of encouragement, gave me a bit more determination in terms of reminding myself to hustle. Because I think my generation, I think you and I both were more or less around the same age.
Yeah, I think so.
We may be a bit. We grew up quite comfortably, I would assume, reasonably comfortably, while our parents had to hustle probably a lot more than we did. So I think wearing that served as a good reminder to hustle. And work my behind off, and I'm glad to say that I'm probably you saw my Instagram page as well. About 19 years after he got his watch, I got allocated mine. So it's in a
wow,
way.
awesome.
So we share that GMT. He wears it, I wear it, and I'm glad to say that I'm more than happy to share this with him as well.
Nice.
And he's also probably retiring reasonably soon. I hope he doesn't blame me for saying this, but he's definitely. We're going to share this watch as well, and 19, 20 years apart. This is amazing. Something for me as a son to share with my dad as well. And trust me, he's been like, I think with the last couple of years, Rolex being really hyped up in prices. I think people talk about it a lot more, and he's also got him. He's also been paying attention to it a lot more as well. And he's like, okay, this is a really nice piece. I want one. I said, Dad, I have it. You can share it, yeah, if you want. So it's a nice thing. It's a nice bonding thing, someone in his early 30s versus someone in his early 60s. It's a nice bonding thing to talk about as well. Yeah, absolutely. So
Absolutely,
yeah, something. I guess absolutely something that we have in common. Amazing. Somehow we're halfway across the world literally, and this is something that we as Asian kids, Asian parents, something that's prevalent worldwide, and something really cool.
And I think you brought up a good point about what's on the wrist kind of can sometimes lend you inspiration or strength, if you will, especially when there's that emotional connection. I think that's one of the amazing things about watches and passing them on. Whether it's between family or friends, a little part of you gets passed on to someone else as well.
Yeah.
When that happens.
Absolutely, amazing, bro. And maybe could we also talk about something else you have in common, if you don't mind? I saw that I see on your Instagram page that you have an Octo Finissimo in titanium, the sandblasted one.
Yeah.
So I guess you told me before we started this podcast that somehow you stumbled across Watch Jelly initially because
Yes.
of this piece. So I guess through some level of serendipity, we found. I guess you found me and I found you as well. When we chatted, it seemed like you're a great
Yes.
guy and your shots are your photographs are amazing. So tell me how you sort of I guess stumbled
Came
across
across.
this piece and what made you pull the trigger, if you will, on acquiring one. I guess a year or two ago.
Yeah. So let me think. It was a few years ago. I think in 2021 it would have been. And I think, I've always been about trying to experience as many pieces that kind of catch my interest or catch my eye and interest me as possible. And as a way to kind of be anti-hype, if you will,
Okay.
right? When all the stainless steel stuff was going nuts, right? I played with those, years before. And I was okay. What do you play with next, right? And I thought the Octo Finissimo was simply amazing when I saw it. The thinness of it, and in titanium, how matte it was, right? Just the way it looked was so unlike anything that I had come across. And I thought, hey, let's try it out for a little bit, right? I have to say though, right? Unfortunately, I have moved that piece.
Okay.
Because I wasn't able to get the bracelet to fit me properly.
I know.
Yes, it does. It didn't have the micro adjust, and then I would take out one link, move it up, and then it was either too tight or too loose. It worked well when I was in Singapore in late 2021 because it's so humid there, so my wrist puffed up.
Right.
So then it was okay. But then after that, it was difficult. But that doesn't take away from the merits of the watch. It still is such an amazing piece.
Yeah, I think you have a point there on the bracelet. I think the one I've got is I guess still in the same family. It's the same movement, same dimensions on the case, but mine's I think yours was a sandblasted one in titanium.
Yes.
I think mine's a satin polished one. I think the main issue I have also is probably with the bracelet as well. I think the watch, the case itself is fantastic. It sits very flat. It's reasonably large, I think. So for some folks, it may not fit particularly well. But I think the bracelet is a bit sharp, especially with this one. And
Okay.
you're absolutely right with the fact that it's a sports watch and you can't quite micro adjust it. I think that's actually a bit of an issue I have with this piece as well. But otherwise, truth be told, I find it to be really an everyday watch. Yeah, it just slips under the cuff if you're wearing a suit, and if you're wearing shirt and jeans. In this weather, it's rugged enough as well. Sort of a avant-garde design, if you will, design ethos.
I think it really works with everything. Yeah, on that trip, actually, it was our belated honeymoon, right?
Okay.
For my wife and I. Yeah, so I pretty much just packed that watch and the Tank American.
Right.
But I was wearing the Octo Finissimo with shorts, right, with a suit, with a sports jacket. It really goes with everything. Yeah, and it was able to stand up to, the humidity.
The massive humidity. Would you say so? Speaking about Tank American, so that's an interesting piece. So I've been eyeing Cartier for a while. I love Cartier, by the way, and it's just that I haven't quite found it in me to pull a trigger on a tech. I do love the American, but would you say, but why did you choose the American out of, let's say, the Santos, or maybe just I don't know, maybe just some of the most I guess the more entry level tanks, if you will. Why has the Cartier Tank American stood out in particular for you?
Mhm. Yeah, I mean, Cartier is great, right? They really have some of the most elegant and unique shaped cases, I think. And for me, with the American, what drew me to it is that curve. I actually have it right here. Let me see. In a way, I see it as an accessible cintre, right?
Right.
Yeah. So for this one, it has
Nice.
that really nice curve along the top.
Yeah.
Oh, is it focusing?
Yeah. It looks
Yeah,
perfect. It looks perfect. Yeah.
yeah. And so for me, that was what really attracted me. Further to that, compared to the regular tank, it's a bit more elongated, which I thought was more elegant as well.
And more
Um,
classic as well to the original tank design DNA, if you will.
yeah, yeah. So it's to me, it was just a little bit more interesting. Uh, Not that I dislike the regular tank. I think that's awesome too. It's a classic. But yeah, this one had enough unique elements to it that really made it attractive to me.
Right, fantastic. I mean, fantastic. So, if you will, so I guess we've talked about some of the watches that you have. Would you say some in terms of the other pieces that you have, right? I actually wrote down a list here, so let me just quickly look at it. I trust me, I've trawled your page like crazy. I think another piece that we have, interestingly enough, is the Seagong 1963.
Yes.
The one. So that happens to be a we call it the bro watch. So a group of friends and we sort of grew up together, and this was like the first gateway piece to get 200 about 150 US dollars at the time. So all six or seven of us, we actually have this piece as a quote unquote bro watch.
Oh,
Um,
nice.
yeah. So I actually, so you join the club, from
Yeah, yeah.
yeah. So that's fantastic. I wore that when I was visiting China as well, Beijing and Shanghai. I think 2 months before the pandemic happened as well. So I was just there in around Halloween 2019. So I wore that proudly around, even though I'm not mainland Chinese, but it's a very cool thing to wear in China, in Beijing.
Mhm.
Given that it is from Tianjin, which is just outside of Beijing, and also tell me about the brigade tradition that you have. That's sort of I've not seen to be completely honest. I've not seen of or heard about that watch before. So my first exposure to it was your Instagram
Okay.
page.
Oh, I see.
Yeah. So tell me about acquiring that piece. So that's a sort of a classic yet not so classic design. It's a I guess it's a see through and it's skeletonized, if you can call it that. So how did you decide upon getting that one, and what drew you to it as well in the first place?
Yeah. Well, the tradition has been, I think it was introduced in 2005. And around that time, I don't have it exact, but yeah, when it first came out, I remember I was blown away. At the time, I was quite new to watches. I was still a student, right? So, the budget is a little bit constrained.
Yeah.
So I would admire it from afar. And I remember I was just like, what is this? What's going on here? Why is the face so small? What are all these gears and cogs? And then yeah, through the years, of course, through my collecting journey, if you will, I would dabble with other things, but the tradition was always in the back of my mind. The thing is, with this particular one, This is the first gen. So it was discontinued around 2012.
Right.
It's about 10, 11 years ago. They still have it in their catalog, the Tradition, but now it's a little larger. I think it's 40 mil.
Right.
With a similar movements. But yeah, so it was discontinued, and I collected other things, and I kind of fell to the wayside. But more recently, over the last few years or so, my collecting philosophy, if you will, has changed a little bit. So whereas before it used to be focused on collecting certain brand icons, so to speak, right? And then it was very price conscious. I would find a piece that had good enough condition to justify a particular price, or vice versa, and then try and grab it as quickly as I could to experience it. But more recently, I think now that I've had more time, now that I've been fortunate enough to experience a variety of pieces, my philosophy has changed a bit. And so now it's a little bit slower, less frantic, right? And it's really about condition, right? Condition of the case, the movement, has it been serviced? If so, by whom? And then the provenance, if you will.
Yeah.
Right? Box and papers. And granted, these aren't super complications or anything like that, but it's still kind of neat, especially when it has the original retailer's receipt.
Yeah.
Their stamp on the warranty card, things like that.
I can imagine you go crazy over that stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, it's just fun to have a complete set. Yeah, and so going back to this particular one, which is right here.
Yikes. What size is this case? A 37, 38?
This one's 37.
37, okay.
Yeah, this one's 37. But yeah, going back to this particular one. Now in my collecting journey, right, focusing more on condition, full sets, things like that. And with this one being discontinued in 2012, right, being a little bit older, service is the main thing that pops up, right? That's the main concern. And in particular, for an in-house movement like this, right, you would probably want it, serviced at Breguet. So through the years, I've been still paying attention to this piece, but there weren't that many that kind of fit my criteria.
Right.
Until this one came along, right? It was a full set. They had the original papers. They had the original retail receipt. And then it had just come back from a fresh service at Breguet. Back then, this actually came from Japan, right? Wow. The Canadian dollar was strong. The yen was quite weak. And I was like, okay, well, if everything lines up, I think this is the one to add. And so that's how I came across this one. And,
nice.
And acquired it, yeah.
So cool. So in terms of, that's a very cool piece. I would say, I've not looked at Breguet to be very honest. So, and I think looking at hearing all this from you, I may actually start to dabble a bit more and look at the catalog, pay more attention to the catalog, and maybe moving a bit more towards the future. Since first the past, now the future. What's the next piece you're eyeing, or what is something that has drawn your attention to quite a bit, and possibly obviously everyone wants a Tiffany Nautilus, which is not possible, but in terms of something that maybe is you find that it's practical, it's feasible to attain, and something that you're eyeing as your next potential piece, and possibly why.
That one's a little harder to answer.
Right.
I think kind of continuing on, where I am in the collecting journey right now. I think I've slowed down quite a bit. Yeah. So I would say,
because it is true that you do have a bit of everything. I have to say, I think something that you have. I'm not sure if you still have it, but the Pelagos LHD. I saw that on your page. That was something that I was strongly considering a few years back. and I just never got around to purchasing that. And now you have
That's
all
a
the
great watch.
yeah,
That's a great
I know,
watch.
right? It's
Yeah,
a
yeah.
yeah, and it sort of had the elements of the old red submariner, double red sea dweller, and obviously now
Yes.
with the last couple of years, the Pelagos has had a few more iterations, which are also very fun. But I suppose normally one doesn't collect so many Pelagoses. I would assume. So even though those are amazing pieces to look at, and I'm getting more, shall we say, uh, uh, I'm more inclined to pay attention and then maybe purchase one along, down the road. So
Yeah,
so so
that's a great one. Yeah.
yeah. But I assume so. You don't
But
think you have one that you
no, I suppose, let's see. To answer your question, I guess continue on what I was saying where, now it's really about condition. I think in a way I'm trying to build a more permanent collection.
okay?
Whereas in the past, pieces might come in and then, I might have them for a few months, a couple of years, and they'll move. Um, yeah, I would say if we're talking about, something to reach for, but is still somewhat reasonable,
Yeah.
right? If anyone has a new old stock, right, Gen 1 datograph, yeah, that you're looking to move, send me a text and send me a
Wow.
DM, and then we'll see.
Wow.
Right, that's definitely one of my absolute favorites. Again, it's discontinued, right?
Right.
So it's hard to find that original in the 39 mil.
Right.
In this mint condition. So yeah, I mean it's nice to dream, but I will be on the lookout for that one.
I wasn't expecting that answer. Wow, datograph. Langga Unzuna. Okay, I think okay, the 39 case. I actually remember that they do have a smaller case version in the past, but probably that's the one you're referring to.
That's the Gen
Yeah,
1. Yeah,
right.
the new one is 41, I want to
I
say.
believe
Yeah,
41. It's on the larger side for sure, but of
yeah.
course, it's very extravagant the way that the new designs of the diagram. I've seen a couple in person, handled a few. I think one in Osaka a couple years, 3 years ago, 4 years ago. Amazing, just amazing. So I
Yeah,
totally know what you're
they're
talking
awesome
about.
pieces.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Damn. Okay. That's very cool. Didn't quite predict that one. Okay. So okay,
Yeah.
maybe before we round off, thank you so much, Aaron, for jumping on the call. Would you maybe to round off our podcast episode? I guess thank you again for supporting Watch Jelly. Would you say as someone who looks at the channel, looks at the Instagram page, in terms of content, if you could dream and ordain some content that we produce, what type of content would you like to see in future if you don't mind sharing? Be absolutely open. Do just anything, even if it's not even is
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, I mean, the way I first found your channel actually was you were doing a tour of Far East Plaza. Everybody kind of mentioned that before.
Right.
And I found those types of videos quite entertaining, right? In a way, it's like a walking tour
Right.
of watch related stores and boutiques, right? That kind of it helps the viewer. It gives the viewer a sense of kind of being there on the ground with you. That was quite entertaining, and I think we could have more of these videos with your new adventures in Hong Kong.
Right. Yeah. With Hong Kong, yeah, I actually know what you're referring to. So I did do a very brief walking tour as well when I first moved in Hong Kong. Very commercialized area in Tsim Sha Tsui. I'm not sure if you're familiar with that area.
Yeah.
Recently, I was in Seoul as well, and I did one, I guess, in the Apgujeong Gangnam area. coincidentally, that's also the plastic surgery capital of the world. That small neighborhood. So yeah. Apparently, I guess the high society people, those with a bit of extra cash, they do frequent that area, and I got you there. So understood. So hopefully, in my future travels, in cosmopolitan cities, are able to film some content. Got it. Yeah, I think that's actually the one in Singapore, Far East Plaza. That was actually that is currently still our most viewed video. So I suppose yeah, I agree with you on that. Maybe I would take some cues from that and produce more content along those lines. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, it's just fun to kind of walk with you and check out. Because from my perspective, I was in Vancouver,
Right.
right? So it's in a way, it's like watch related. It's kind of almost like a travel vlog, if you will,
Travel vlog,
right?
yeah.
I get to see what Singapore is like, the malls, the boutiques. I think people enjoy it.
Understood there. Okay, fantastic. I think that's a fantastic point. I think with travel coming back, people may want to look for such content more often than not right now. I suppose that does make sense. Yeah, absolutely. So, okay. So, Aaron, thank you so much for being on the channel. It means the world
Thank
to
you for
me.
having me. Yeah.
It means the world that somehow we managed to find each other after I started this crazy project. Even though I actually have a proper job. And this is a hobby, but somehow I'm so glad that it's allowed me to connect with collectors as well, even on the complete other side of the world. That's amazing to me, and still it floors me every time to think about that. And that's the beauty of social media and everything. So thank you so much
Absolutely.
for coming on. Hopefully we get to do this again, and
Yeah, definitely.
I'll be following your page very closely, and I guess I will. Outside of this podcast, I will ask you for some tips on how to take proper photos. Yeah, I forgot about that one. So, yeah,
It's just my iPhone. I just use
I know.
my trusty
No,
iPhone.
I use the iPhone as well. It's just that my skill doesn't compare. Apparently, my photography skills are quite lacking. My girlfriend will be hopefully happier if I take better photos. So, thank you, Aaron. Thank you again for coming on. Thank you for everyone who's tuned in and made it so far to the podcast. Please don't forget to like, share, and subscribe whether our YouTube page, our Instagram page, and also subscribe to our podcast page on Spotify and on Google. So thank you, Aaron. Thank you all, and don't forget to keep watching Jelly, guys. Thank you
Thank you
so
for
much.
having me. The privilege was all mine.
Yeah, thank you, Aaron. Cheers. Thank you so much.